Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. This is a clip from a 60 Minutes report on, of all things, UFOs and the U.S. military. Watch this.
A Navy aircrew struggles to lock on to a fast-moving object off the U.S. Atlantic coast in 2015. Recently released images may not convince UFO skeptics, but the Pentagon admits it doesn't know what in the world this is. Or this. Or this.
Oh, UFOs, they're spooky and kind of funny. Crazy people believe in them. Up until you get to the line, the Pentagon admits it doesn't know what in the world this is. And that's where you pause. Because from a national security perspective, that is a very big problem. How big a problem is it? One Navy pilot said that the U.S. military has observed unidentified flying objects maneuvering in restricted airspace off the coast of Virginia, quote, every day for 2 years.
The Pentagon confirms these are images of objects it can't identify. Lieutenant Graves told us pilots training off the Atlantic coast see things like that all the time.
Every day. Every day for at least a couple of years.
Wait a minute, every day for a couple of years?
Mm-hmm.
Every day for years. Now, flying in restricted airspace is not a small thing. Try that in your Cessna 172 off Virginia Beach sometime. You will get very wet very fast. You'll be killed, actually. Yet the Pentagon, after every day for 2 years of daily incursions, didn't appear to do anything about it. Why didn't they? We're just guessing. One possible explanation, they couldn't. Our military was completely outmatched technologically by whatever these were. And whatever they were not weather balloons. Here's Lou Elizondo, the former director of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program.
You know how this sounds. It sounds nutty, wacky.
Look, Bill, I'm not telling you that it doesn't sound wacky. What I'm telling you, it's real. Imagine a technology that can do 600 to 700 G-forces, that can fly at 13,000 miles an hour, that it can evade radar, and that can fly through air and water and possibly space, and oh, by the way, has no obvious signs of propulsion, no wings, no control surfaces, and yet still can defy the natural effects of Earth's gravity. That's precisely what we're seeing.
Sound like a potential threat? You think? So what has the Pentagon done about it? Well, we don't know the full story as of tonight, but we don't know that they've done anything about it other than ignore it and then cover the fact they ignored it by declaring the whole subject classified for decades, and then spending the rest of the day thinking about how to bomb Syria again and rid the Marine Corps of people who voted for Donald Trump. The sad thing is we have a whole new branch of the military that might be perfectly designed to assess what these things are and figure out if they're a threat or not, and maybe respond. If there was ever a reason to have Space Force, this might be it. So every day for 2 years, unidentified flying objects behaving in ways that seem to contradict what we know about physics. UFOs, it turns out, are real. And whatever else they are a prima facie challenge to the U.S. military. They are doing things the U.S. military does not allow, and they're doing it with impunity. And they appear to be focused on the U.S. military. UFOs for decades appear to have clustered around our military installations, our ships and our aircraft, with no real response except more secrecy. At one point, unidentified flying objects apparently shut down a nuclear weapons facility at an Air Force base in the state of Montana. 10 ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, were temporarily knocked offline. At the same time, base security noticed a glowing red object floating in the sky. It sounds like out of a movie, but it happened. That was decades ago. Many more UFOs have been sighted near our nuclear weapons facilities since around the country. According to journalist George Knapp, quote, all of the nuclear facilities, Los Alamos, Livermore, Sandia, Savannah Hill, all had dramatic incidents with these unknown aircraft appearing over the facilities, and no one knew where they were from or what they were doing there. Again, for decades this has happened. Apparently no one knows why. No one seems especially alarmed. In the 1950s, some people were worried about this. A declassified FBI document from 70 years ago describes unknown flying objects measuring 50 feet in diameter in the vicinity of Los Alamos. More recently, the Pentagon has declassified footage from a US UFO incident in 2004 and 2 UFO incidents from 2015. You're seeing that footage. It was recorded by Navy pilots during training flights. We have no explanation for what these objects are. Just days ago, the Pentagon confirmed that an 18-second video of 3 UFOs harassing a U.S. warship called the USS Russell is in fact real. That footage was shot in July of 2019 and collected by the Pentagon's UFO Task Force, then wound up in the hands of Jeremy Corbell, the journalist who put it online. So the question is, what are these things? Why are they buzzing our skies? Why do they seem attracted to the United States military? And why, above all, isn't the Pentagon more focused on this? It seems like a threat if there ever was one. Commander David Fravor found himself in the middle of these questions unwittingly. In 2004, he ran into the now famous Tic Tac UFO while flying for the U.S. military. We're happy to have him on tonight. David, thanks so much for coming on. So when you hear a Navy pilot say that every day for 2 years we saw these objects in the sky, what's your response to that?
It's troubling at times because, if anything, there's a potential for a mid-air accident while they're out there training. Number two is I think it shows a weakness in our reporting structure into the intel community to get this word out that there are objects out there that we can't explain, we don't know what they're doing, we knew they were tracked at high speeds, and nothing was being done about it. And there is a level of frustration.
If we had surveillance video that showed human beings of some kind were sneaking into military bases, into the most classified parts of those bases, and had been for 50 years, and we didn't know their identities, we couldn't catch them, how much concern would there be about that? Would we just say, we just don't know, it's just one of those mysteries? Or would we say, holy smokes, we got to figure this out?
No, we would do the holy smokes, we got to figure this out, and we would increase our security posture in order to stop the intrusion.
Why do you think, and you always want to assume the best motives, and I always do with the military, but why do you think that we haven't done that over 70 years?
Well, I think, when you go back to, the 50s, 60s with Project Blue Book, I think the focus was to either disprove or discredit because we didn't want to alarm the population, is what they say. As you get into modern days, like our incident, I just think there was a lack of knowledge on how to report it, or if anything would be done with it. So it was one of those, we'll ignore it and maybe it will go away. And it stayed that way until 2017 when the New York Times posted the article that said, hey, this is real, there is a task force, and it is being funded by the government, thanks to Harry Reid.
And thanks to Harry Reid, that's right, and good for him. I remember when your story first came out, and I remember reading that you had been mocked or discouraged when you were in the military from talking about this publicly. I remember that you were definitely mocked when you came out with it. Now that we learn that a lot of people have seen this, I'm sure you knew that already, how does that make you feel? And why don't you think you were encouraged to explain more fully what you saw?
Oh, I think it would have been good to, when the incident happened, to investigate because the data was there. And, now the data is gone, the radar tapes are gone, the tapes that we had are gone, which was the radar out of the F-18. So it's one of those, hindsight being 20/20, woulda, coulda, shoulda, and we didn't do that. I like to believe that nowadays that the reporting is going up, the sightings are coming out, the videos are you're seeing those that Jeremy put out, that the military is taking this more and more serious through the intelligence channels. And I think with Senator Rubio putting that clause in the bill, the COVID bill, that said, hey, you have 6 months to release this, now they're forcing the government to show their cards, or at least the cards that they can show.
Yeah. You took a lot of crap for this. I appreciate your coming on. Retired Commander David Fravor, thank you.
Thanks, Tucker.